Okay, we're now recording. It's going.
No more slurping my tea.
None of that.
One last time.
I'm not hearing that in my ears, but I know it's going to be painful when I edit.
It hurt me.
It hurt you? You think it hurt you? It's going to hurt everyone. It's going to hurt humanity.
Oh.
The world is going to suffer from that.
Where's Superman when you need him?
Whatever happened to the man of tomorrow? Play the theme song! It's welcome.
Hey!
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Ben and Marshall Do podcast. I'm looking directly at you. This is so strange.
So crazy. I'm so used to looking at my screen.
This is so weird.
This is very weird. There's a whole different energy in the room now.
we can shake around.
Our bodies move. I can play footsie with you.
Oh, please. Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, man. But,
goodness.
Here, wait, hold on. Computer, turn on Showtime in Marshall's bedroom.
I don't like this.
It's the podcast colors.
Oh, it's the podcast colors. Okay, I was expecting
this is not for other activities.
Something else to happen.
No.
It's showtime, baby.
No, this is specifically for the show.
For the show. Okay.
Yeah. So it's you got your purples and your blues.
Yeah, it's very calming. It's nice.
I know, it's really chill. I kind of just put this on a lot of the time.
I would like to do this in my house right now, but I'm living with my dad, so maybe I can secretly swap out everything and do it.
50, 100, 150.
What?
200 plus the bridge, which connects them all. Don't remember how much that was.
Oh my gosh.
But let me tell you.
Was it worth it?
Sure freaking looks cool.
Yeah. Also, how long do these puppies last?
Don't know. Hopefully long.
Yeah.
Hopefully long. And if not, then I, the greatest criminal mind of our time, will go to Home Depot and buy more.
Wow. That's nice. Yeah.
I would not steal, as I am not Lex Luthor.
That's a lot of money, but I would be willing to do it one day. I think I'd like to. I was thinking today that I'd really like to set up a home theater setup eventually when I own a home. Yeah, that'd be nice. Some of this action, maybe some 5.1 surround. Wouldn't that be nice? Ugh.
Yeah, that's what we got. We got the surround sound.
Oh, really?
Front. Yeah. Wow. We got to watch a movie sometime, man.
We got to watch it. We have to watch a movie together sometime.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings 4K.
We were supposed to do that this week, but alas,
we did not.
I'm taking a ski trip this weekend, so we had to rush our recording a little bit.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
By the way, welcome to the show. This is Ben and Marshall Do a Podcast. I'm Marshall. This is Ben.
Yep.
And we're doing a podcast. First time that us two, this combination of Marshall and Ben's, are doing it in the same room.
Yeah.
You are sitting in not the same chair, but the same area that the previous Ben sat in.
Yeah, we're 6 feet apart.
Yeah,
probably.
More or less.
We're distancing.
Close enough.
We're in a closed room, but it's probably fine.
Yeah.
It's good. Everything's good.
We'll be off. It's a party.
Mostly we've been recording separately out of convenience, honestly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Scheduling wise, it's been nice to just hop on from our own homes instead of having to drive over. And then the other issue is when you record podcasts with somebody else's, you inevitably burn like an hour of chit-chatting and catching up every single time before you actually start. So when we're on Discord, we're probably a little bit more timed out. I feel like we spend like 10 minutes chatting instead of
maybe 10 or 11 or 12.
Somewhere in that range.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But
anyway, so
it's also
together.
really nice to be able to just have the audio track here.
Yeah, that is nice.
It's just a thing that's synced up and it's two separate tracks right there, so I can just do all the work, which is beautiful. I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, welcome to the show. We got a lot to talk about. We got a couple movies, which, man, I'll tell you my opinion on them at some point.
That's what happens
maybe
usually.
I love them and maybe I don't.
What? Are you serious? I thought you loved them.
The premise of the show is generally we bring a movie that we love and we talk about it.
Yeah.
I love these movies.
Okay. You had me for a second. I was like, you own them on 4K UHD.
I do. Well, I own the first one 4K UHD. The second one technically isn't. We'll get into that.
Right before we start, Marshall, I'm going to be honest with you.
Tell me about it.
I have to be honest. I didn't take the time to watch the first one, but I watched the second one.
That's interesting.
Because I was excited to talk about the Donner cut.
Yeah.
So I wanted to watch the second one, and so I skipped the first one.
Have you seen Superman 1?
Yeah, bits and pieces of it.
Okay.
Enough to understand. So you might have to lead the conversation on that way, and I'll be like the listener who hasn't seen it, and I'll be interested. I'm sorry for ruining any plans you had.
Wow.
Did I ruin your plans?
I mean, not really.
Okay, cool.
I think you should watch it.
I should watch it. I talked to my dad today. I think my father and I might watch it together because he saw it in theaters back in the day. So
I didn't remember this, but it's like almost 2.5 hours long.
yeah, that was a part of the issue.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
plus, I could have scheduled a little bit better, but also, is it? We'll get into it.
It's
worth 2 hours. It's worth 2.5 hours.
Just now finished rewatching the Donner cut right before you got here, pretty much.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So
nice. And I haven't seen the original. So have you seen the original cut?
Yeah.
The quote unquote original cut.
It is the original.
It
cut.
is the original cut. Okay.
Yeah. It came out in the 70s,
theaters.
and this one came out in 2006.
Yeah. Right.
So
okay.
A little bit of a difference.
You have to fill me in on some of those. Anyway,
I will.
back on with the show.
Back on with the show. You know what time it is?
Party time, snack time,
6:58.
dinner. 6:58 p.m. And that means it's time for the news.
Yeah, you figured it out.
Yes.
That's the time that the news happens every day at my house.
Yes.
Now you're at my house. And here's my home address. Just kidding. So here's the news. First piece of news is also kind of the second piece of news, but it's mostly the first piece of news. So are you ready for it?
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Sorry, I got distracted by looking at all the other files you have in here.
Oh, wow.
I'm so sorry. Keep going.
Nice.
Sorry.
Oh, you know what? I have another fresh piece of news.
Okay.
Netflix is apparently putting out a movie every single week this year.
I saw that, which is not that far up from what they did this past year. They had like 50 original things this last year, but like is it like one day of the week they're explicitly releasing it like every Friday night or something like that? I don't know.
I didn't really look into it much more than I saw the same trailer as everyone else with Gal Gadot and
Ryan Reynolds and
Rock
Dwayne
the Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah. Yep.
Just kidding. Funny.
The Green Lantern.
The Green Lantern. That's pretty much all I know about it, is that it's a thing that's happening. I don't know how much I care.
Yeah.
Their quality has been going up, I think, in their movie stuff.
Netflix has always like had quality, like, the movie side of things is I think newer going up. But they always have like some trash that you never hear about and somehow still gets released. And then something like really good to like offset the other trash.
That's true. They have like a bunch of random movies that no one's ever heard of. But I guess these all have like heavy hitters in them or something. So that's why they're putting them out there.
They have big name actors and actresses.
Yeah, like Ryan Gosling and Rock the Dwayne Johnson and Gal Gadot.
Lin-Manuel Miranda directs his first.
Lin-Manuel Miranda
directs his first movie. Directs.
Miss Little Miranda.
You're making it hard for people to listen.
I'm making it hard for
Lin-Manuel Miranda has read his Miranda rights. That's the plot of the whole thing.
And he understands them as he has been read them.
Yep.
He's directing a movie?
Yeah. His first one.
Separate from In the Heights?
Yes.
Did he direct that?
It's called something Tick Tick Boom or something like that.
Ooh, that doesn't sound good.
I don't know what it's about.
Okay.
So, I saw that as well. I'm curious if they're going to be literally releasing them once a week, or if it's like that's the shtick and like they're going to release them in chunks. I don't know. I'm curious.
It would be cool if it was like, this is Disney Movie Friday night on the like Disney Channel.
Yes.
And,
do you remember growing up like Disney Channel summer movies?
Yeah.
Like they're in the summer when kids are out of school and they released all like the cool Disney Channel stuff. Like Luck of the Irish.
Agent
and
Cody Banks 2.
Yeah. That was, everyone was looking forward to that
the best one.
Yeah.
Or Xenon or whatever.
Xenon. Yeah. Wendy Wu Homecoming Warrior.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah. All of those, even the ones that go back further than even I remember.
Bed Knobs and Broomsticks?
Yeah, I've not heard of that.
That's not a Disney Channel movie.
Okay, not heard of it.
That's an old Disney movie from the 19-somethings.
Cool. Anyway, but it'll be interesting. Like, is it Friday night? Is Netflix movie night? That'd be kind of fun.
Cool.
That would be fun.
I would do that, honestly.
I'd be into it. We should just do it
Fridays.
anyway. Well,
Saturdays. Before we record the show Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
We'll watch one of these movies.
Morning movies never make me feel good on the inside.
Interesting.
Like when I leave the theater or if I watch it at home and it's like 1,
it's like, now
I
what?
feel gross on the inside. Yeah. Like movies for me are always an evening thing.
I feel that.
Yeah.
It's like, what do I do now?
I go if the reason I'm going early is because it's cheap. Late, like the earliest I would go is like 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel that. I just like movies.
Yeah.
But so I'll do anytime. That's what I have to say about that.
Wow, that's cool.
So you can just cry about it.
So Netflix movie Saturday morning. Everybody, all the listeners, we could have Netflix. We could do a Netflix party. We could send it out to the listeners.
Netflix party with the listeners.
It's not called Netflix Party anymore. They had to change their name for copyright.
Oh, that
stuff.
literal actual thing?
Yeah, the Chrome plugin. We could do a streaming party. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. I'll set it up with our loyal fan
Set up
base.
the little fan base movie.
What's the next piece of news?
Let me tell you about it. So big video game news from the LucasArts area. LucasArts doesn't actually exist anymore. It's now just Lucasfilm, but they have like game studio. I don't know why they just it's LucasArts. Just call it LucasArts.
Yeah, it's split. There's Lucasfilm now and Lucas Games. Yeah.
It's stupid. But
Yeah.
here's the cool thing.
Yeah.
So EA, since the Disney deal, has had a lockjaw grip on the Star Wars games license. No one else has been able to make a Star Wars game. And with that license, with that opportunity, they gave us Battlefront 1, which was a glorified tech demo.
Yeah.
Battlefront 2, which was a horrific disaster and then turned itself around.
And like they really put a lot of effort into it.
Oh yeah, it became one of the best Star Wars games ever made by the end.
Yeah.
Still is.
But people sleep on it now because of the horrible loot box fiasco.
Nobody
at the
knows.
beginning. Yeah.
So, and like right when it was actually getting to pick up popularity, they cut off support and they send everyone to Battlefield 6, which is sad. But there's rumors, and this isn't in the news, but there's rumors that Battlefront 3 is in development currently.
Oh.
Which would be really cool because all the actors from the campaign are, back in, I don't know, LA working on it. Or working on something together.
So,
it's like,
yes.
If the entire cast of Ocean's 11 gets together for a movie and they don't tell you what the movie is, it's probably Ocean's 12.
Yeah, especially if there's an extra person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except, that's true.
That was stupid.
That's really good. I didn't think about that. I just agreed.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand what I was agreeing
that
with.
was stupid.
It happens.
So,
and then Squadrons. They gave us Squadrons, which is good. I think after Battlefront 2, they kind of learned their lesson, and they were like, oh yeah, we can make good Star Wars games, actually. So they did that. They let Respawn make a game. I think that Respawn might be an EA-owned studio, though. So Respawn made Fallen Order.
Yeah, which is really fun.
Yeah,
Good
I
story.
like it a lot.
And they're like doing some of the world building from Fallen Order. They've started to pull into some of the Disney Plus originals, which has been kind of fun to watch. They've gone to a couple planets they go to in Fallen Order. And yeah, the snowy one, I think they pop into.
Illume?
Isn't that the same place?
I think, Illume has been in... That wasn't the one that was in The Mandalorian, I don't think.
Oh.
Well, because... I wonder... It could have been, because Illume, it's in the Clone Wars series, and that's where they go to make their lightsabers and they get the kyber crystals and stuff.
Right.
It eventually is mined out and becomes a Starkiller base.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so I don't remember where Fallen Order... Where does Fallen Order take place?
When?
Yeah.
Like...
It's
within
is it before A New
10
Hope?
years of right?
I don't remember. I don't know. If it is, then that means that probably isn't the planet they went to in The Mandalorian, because when they go to it in the game, it's already being mined out for that big middle area.
Fallen Order is 5 years after Order 66.
Okay. Oh yeah, that makes sense, because he's a kid and you get to see it happen. And then he's like my age. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So it probably wasn't Illume, but it could have
been. Sorry, I just Googled. Oh, it is Illume.
Really?
Yeah.
In The Mandalorian?
I think so. 1 sec. Or is this just a theory page? Oh no. Maybe it's just a theory page. Sorry, we can move on.
It's Hoth, because there's snow. That's why Jakku is Tatooine, Jedda's Tatooine.
This is from a theory page before the season comes out. I don't actually know.
Fool.
I don't actually know where
you don't know anything.
Nope.
But the point is, to all of this, the contract is seemingly up, because now Ubisoft has announced that they are making an open world Star Wars game.
Let's go!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Very few details.
Inject that into my veins.
Oh, please. All we know about it, I know more than you do at this moment, I think. But it's being made, specifically, it's being developed by Massive, who's a studio owned by Ubisoft. They made Division 1 and 2. They made Far Cry 3, Assassin's Creed Revelations. Some, good stuff. Some heavy hitters in there. And...
at least, like, competent stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like, Revelations is definitely one of the better Assassin's Creed games. Far Cry 3 is probably the best Far Cry game. And The Division is good. And I've heard that the Division 2 does things better, but people just didn't care. So they didn't get into it. Division never seemed quite like my kind of game. Especially, that was one of the first games that I remember there being backlash of like, the graphical downgrade, and it's not as good as the E3 trailer. That and Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs was the big one. I remember that like it was yesterday. Holy cow. That trailer blew my mind, and then the game came out, and it looked like a PS1 game.
Yeah.
It's insane. But they're making this game.
Cool.
And they have said that it is going to be an open world, story-driven game. And that is so the like, official kind of like, statements.
That feels Assassin's Creed-y to me.
It does. But it also feels Far Cry-y-ish. And this is why I say that, is because there is a job listing that has given us a little bit more insight to what it is. And that is, I have it right here, actually.
Oh.
So this is a listing for, and this is from IGN, a listing for senior writer is looking for applicants that are skilled in researching and writing narrative elements to anchor a reality-based narrative within an existing IP, which we now know is Star Wars.
That's funny.
Qualifications. Experience working with enemy AI NPCs, so artificial intelligence and non-player characters, in a shooter or action-adventure game. So this could be like a first-person Far Cry thing. This could be a third-person Fallen Order thing. Who knows? Several years industry experience, ideally with multiple major titles credited to your names. I mean, that's just, we want someone who knows what they're doing. As a senior, you should also have experience mentoring your junior colleagues, so blah, 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 leadership. Absolute passion for playing and making games, especially RPG and action-adventure games. That's what sticks out to me. Because when I hear open-world Star Wars game, my first thought is KOTOR.
Yeah.
And if we're going to be getting
elements.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that the RPG stuff that they're doing in this is going to be more like Witcher RPG and less like the Division RPG. Because, and I don't know that I want this to be a big online game. I think it'd be really cool to have a big open world online game for Star Wars, but I don't really vibe with that grindy looter shooter thing that you kind of just have to make that into.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Like a Destiny type.
Yeah, Destiny, and that's what the Division pretty much is. That's what it turned into. And if you can make the gameplay loop fun enough, then it works. But I mean, Destiny didn't pull me in, but maybe that's just because it isn't Star Wars. I don't know. Maybe if I cared about the IP enough, I would be able to overlook that. But also, I didn't give a damn about the Avengers game, and it's exactly that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I really want this to be good. I'm nervous because it's Ubisoft, and they don't have a great reputation for not meddling in nonsense, but they have been on an uptake lately.
I mean, what a great chance to start a new series of games too. Like instead of like right now, my thing holding me back from getting into The Witcher is that I feel bad not playing the previous Witcher games / reading and I know it's not that important, or reading the Witcher books. Yeah, I know. But for me, that's an issue. Or like at some point, some of the Assassin's Creeds I started getting there as well. It'll be nice to have maybe a new series for people to hop in, an easy access point. And then also I get really excited with canon wise what they can do with new games, just because obviously all of the old what used to be canon before Disney bought Star Wars, like a lot of that is, there are at least bits and pieces. Now it just becomes fan theory of what might happen because we don't know exactly what they're going to be pulling into the new canon. So is this all of The Witcher?
That is the first 3 Witcher novels. Those are the ones that I've read.
Oh my gosh. Are you handing these to me to let me borrow them?
Yes, I am.
You saint of a man.
I think you have a lot of comic books from me right now.
I do, and I haven't started them. But, wow. I have a new goal for myself so once I get done at the public school I work at, which shall not be named, because we're on a podcast. I can't associate my work life with this.
Lincoln School.
My new goal is to get home and read for 45 minutes after school, and that's going to be my reading time. I usually, like, my downtime after work, I sit around for half an hour or an hour, maybe I watch something, and I just want to be able to start the habit of making it reading time. So
that's what I'm trying to do right before bed, is just take like half hour, 45 minutes and just read. I've tried to do that, and it hasn't
worked.
Generally works out for me. unless it's gotten to the point where it's really late and I'm like, I should just go to bed.
Seems like a reasonable number of pages to read through.
Yeah, so I got the travel edition of that one because it was
nice.
the only one that I saw.
Yeah,
I didn't have the full size one.
Cute.
It's kind of confusing. So you look online and you're like, which one's the first book? I think it's The Last Wish, if I remember right.
This
it's
one?
not. No, Blood of Elves is the third
There's a
book.
one on the side. What the heck?
Is there?
Whatever.
Hold on. Let me look at these. Hold on. Let me look at these.
Wow.
Hold on. Let me look at these.
You should look at those. Well,
We take a look at that. Read the next
pictures, news. The next, I'm going to look at pictures.
So Star Wars game RPG.
I'm going to look
read
at
the next
pictures
news about the next video game.
Henry Cavill as The Witcher with.
You should read the news of the next video game.
Tights.
You should read the news of the next video game.
Okay, I'll read the news of the next video game. Let's see. Where did we leave off? Yes. Okay. So, wow, we're only on bullet point number 2, Marshall. We got to pick this thing up. There has been a tease of the Indiana Jones game from Bethesda. Or from a studio owned by Bethesda. What the name I am blanking on right now?
I am as well.
Anywho, it was something cool, but the teaser was a long pan of books and a desk and travel-y things, a map, and they snuck in the names of Bethesda and Lucas Games into different things on the desk, and then it pans to the end to a fedora. Hand comes out, snatches fedora, off into the distance goes Indiana Jones. So that is all they have released on it. On the tweet, I think they said it's going to be a while before we have more in-depth information on it, but just the teaser should be interesting. What is Bethesda going to throw at us? Maybe another RPG action type deal or not, or I don't know.
I'm fascinated because they could go a couple different ways with this, and probably also other ways that I'm not anticipating. Mm-hmm. But the two ways that I'm thinking, and I think this is the first one.
Okay.
Sword of Destiny.
Okay.
And it's a collection of short stories because originally, and I'll get back to the Indiana Jones in a second here.
Okay.
But originally, the Witcher stories were written in Poland, in Polish, by Andrew Sapkowski. That's how you pronounce that name, Andrew. And they were published in magazines as short stories. So that one is the collection of short stories that then eventually weaves into the full saga, which starts with The Last Wish.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Fascinating. Kind of a Sherlock Holmes type situation.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's what that is. That's pretty cool. Indiana Jones thing. There's a couple ways they could go with it because we have kind of two archetypes of the way that these kind of swashbuckling adventure games work. You've got Uncharted and you have Tomb Raider. And when I say Tomb Raider, I mean current Tomb Raider, not like the old janky stuff. So Uncharted is very linear, narrative driven, and very specific, intentional story beats. And it's basically been modern Indiana Jones. That's what you've gotten is this is the best analog that we've had. Mm-hmm. And then Tomb Raider was rebooted.
Yeah.
And the first one was very similar to Uncharted, except that it had a lot more platforming, and the platforming was a lot more complex. Mm-hmm. It was a good proof of concept, but it wasn't that great. Mm-hmm. Rise of the Tomb Raider, fantastic. They kind of built it around these hub worlds, these hub open areas that you would go through and explore, and there were tombs that you could go and find and explore, and they had puzzles in them, and it was a lot more built around the puzzles and the exploration and the platforming. Mm-hmm. Shadow of the Tomb Raider kind of reins it back in a little bit in a way that I think I prefer Rise just because it is more open to that exploration stuff, which I like a lot. That's one of my favorite parts
Shadow
of Fallen Order.
has more storyline, more of the sneaky combat.
A little bit, yeah. It's a lot less go back through this world and collect stuff as much as it is go through this story and do it. It's still really good. It looks great. I can't play it now because I sold my 2080 Ti because I'm a fool. But that's beside the point. So that's the two ways they could go with that. Which one do you think would be better? Which one would you prefer?
I feel like I would like a bit more of the oh gosh, I don't know. I think more of the narrative, more of the story probably for the first one. I don't know. I feel like
I think that makes sense Because my inclination is to really go to the Rise of the Tomb Raider direction, where it's these like open-ish areas, where it's not like a full open, Skyrim where you go everywhere and you're Indiana Jones digging anywhere you want to, and you can look at our shovel mechanics. You can dig anywhere, and you might find a fossil. And is that the Holy Grail?
Oh my gosh!
Whoa!
Yeah.
Don't drink it. Don't cross the seal. Whatever. But I think that could get out of hand really quick. So I think if they did, and The Witcher kind of did this, where the first game is much more linear, the second, and it's also really janky. Let's start with The Witcher 2.
Okay.
We'll consider that the first game, because that's usually the first one that people will play. No one played the first Witcher game.
Sure.
It is a linear game. It has minor exploration to it, but it is more or less linear, story-driven. And then they were like, screw it, we're going all out, and they made one of the best open world RPGs of all time. So maybe, I think you're right, maybe if they go the direction that Tomb Raider did, where they do that first one is much more linear, and then the second one, if, God willing, this becomes a franchise, in the second one they can open it up more. I don't know, I like that.
I don't know, I think I want an Indiana Jones story. I want to get pulled into a story a little bit more than
who would voice it? I really don't want Troy Baker
Harrison
to voice
Ford,
it.
bring him back.
He's not going to do it. He's done. He's doing one more movie, and then he's going to die.
Yeah.
He's trying to kill off all of his famous characters so he himself can die.
Brilliant.
That's his curse.
Kind of a Horcrux situation.
Yeah.
His characters can't live on any longer.
He killed Han Solo. Deckard didn't die, though, at the end of Blade Runner, did he?
I haven't seen any of the Blade Runners. I've been saving that for a rainy weekend.
Dude, I have them.
To watch them all. Really?
Yeah.
Marshall. Let's do it.
Dude, let's do it, and we'll sit on the couch at distances, and we won't look at each other.
Thanks for letting me know that he doesn't die, though, so spoilers.
Let's
skip the next news story and just skip to the third and then move on to the movie. What do you think?
What is the... Oh, yeah, that's...
Yeah, we'll skip that. I was excited about it, but I can talk about it later.
Yeah, basically, Lord of the Rings, a news announcement. It's going to take place thousands of years before the thing, in the Second Age, which is like the Age of Heroes, and it's like the mythical era. So it's going to be wild and crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of places they could go with the storyline. Kind of fun.
Yeah. And then Deadpool 3 has been confirmed by Kevin Feige. They're making it, and it will be R-rated, and it will be in the MCU.
Super fun.
How does that work? I don't know.
Besides making it just more of a spoof on other things happening, like he's watching it all happen, and kind of a Infinity War type situation where they're like jumping back. I mean, like you're seeing things happen from a new perspective from the other movies.
I guess. I don't know. I don't really like Deadpool that much.
Really?
Yeah, that's kind of my burden in life. I don't. I'm kind of the guy who doesn't like Deadpool. I don't find his shtick very entertaining. I thought the first one was fine, and I thought the second one was okay.
Yeah.
It was also really overhyped for me, just because people talked about it like it was God's gift to humanity. But I think that it just got so much praise because it was an R-rated superhero movie and it worked.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The plot line was like not super moving.
Yeah. It's not my humor. I don't really care about fourth wall breaking. Look at how we have a secret together. I understand. Wink. And I think it can work well, but I just don't. I don't know. I don't like Deadpool. I can regrow my limbs and I can say cuss words like piss. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying.
I don't know.
Yeah, if you could pick one of the MCU actors / superheroes to get pulled into a Deadpool movie,
Spider-Man.
Do you think so? I mean, that happens in the comic books all the time.
Spider-Man or Wolverine, but Wolverine isn't in the MCU yet.
Would they? Oh, yeah. Would they tarnish the family friendliness of Tom Holland and Spider-Man by putting him into a Deadpool movie?
That's the question. For a long time, the theory, and I thought this would be amazing, but if it's going to be R-rated, this isn't going to happen. I thought it would be amazing if... Well, I guess they could still do this if he's like in an Avengers movie in the future. The idea was that if he's not rated R, if he's rated PG-13, then he would be well aware of this fact, and that he would be saving his one F-bomb that he gets per PG-13 movie for the perfect time.
Right.
And he was waiting, and then in the climax, someone else uses it, and then he gets so mad, but he can't curse about it.
Yeah.
And he's like getting bleeped out and everything, which could be really, really funny. I think that could be really good, but alas, they're probably not going to do that.
I'll watch it.
They don't
I'm excited for it. I'll say it.
I'll certainly watch it.
I'm here to be a light of hope for it being A great movie.
then in that case, I think it's going to be terrible.
Marshall, we are how many minutes in now? We're half an hour in. What that means when we're 29 and a few odd seconds in.
It's time for apartment news.
Sure, but apartment news is dead.
Yes, so we have a moment of silence for apartment news.
R.I.P.
Computer lights off.
Oh.
That's enough. Computer, turn on Showtime in Marshall's bedroom.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay.
Showtime in Marshall's room doesn't support that.
I hate you so much, you stupid computer idiot. Computer, turn on Showtime in Marshall's bedroom.
Oh.
I don't know why it does that sometimes.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, we watched two movies.
I watched 2 movies. You watched 2 movies, I watched 1.
Yes. So, Superman 1, Superman 2. Superman 1 came out in 1978.
Mm-hmm.
Superman 2...
1980?
1980, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were filmed concurrently, which is why they look, more or less identical.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're like me and you watch the Donner cut and the 4K restoration, in which case one of them definitely looks nicer.
Is the 4K restoration worth it?
Oh, yeah, it's gorgeous.
Oh, cool.
It's beautiful.
That's awesome.
I was scrubbing through the original cut of Superman 2 just to find a few of the differences, and man, it's pretty too. It looks so good, yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, we watched these movies because these are some of my favorite movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I love Superman. I was one of those people growing up that was like, Superman sucks. He's stupid and he's got too many powers and he's boring because you can't do anything interesting with him because he's too strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know when the turnaround happened for me, but he's maybe my favorite superhero now.
Wow.
So I don't know what the change was.
He's your favorite, like the idea of him is your favorite, or like as you read the comics, you're like,
I love Superman.
My favorite. Okay.
Yeah. I read the monthly Superman comic book. I just bought a graphic novel on here called Superman Up in the Sky, written by Tom King, who is, we'll talk about him later. And it's very good. And I'm reading all kinds of Superman stuff. I'm watching all kinds of Superman stuff. I rewatched Man of Steel recently for some contrast. I rewatched a Superman documentary the other day just to really get back into the whole deal. And I just like him a lot. And I don't know where that change happened for me, but I like him a lot.
Cool.
What's your relationship with Clark Kent, Kal-El, Superman, the last son of Krypton, the Man of Steel?
Platonic? No.
Yes. I as well. I am not a home wrecker.
I don't know. I think it's like watching a documentary on it. That sounds fascinating. I think like the history of Superman is really cool.
Oh, I think you'd like the documentary a lot.
I love history. I think that the idea of there's definitely other superheroes that are more relatable as like human beings,
sure.
Right? You know what I'm saying? But there's something behind Superman being like other than, or being like super because he's not from here, or because like he is an alien, or and it's different than like a different storyline than other superheroes where they're like gods, right? Like those are people not from this world, but totally unrelatable because they're gods. Right? Yeah. Or maybe there's some relatability, or other superheroes that gain their superpower, they were humans, they're flawed, right? They're relatable in that way. But something about a superhero who has their superpowers because they are like not from this world, but they like care deeply about humanity.
Yeah.
And I think there's like Superman's love of humanity because he's not from here, I think is really cool for me to see. And I think after watching Superman 2, obviously not seeing all of Superman 1, but bits and pieces, like famous clips of it. Superman's love for humanity and how much he cares for it being like adopted by humans, like brought in as the other. I think there's so much fear in the world of things we don't understand, or like people that aren't like us. Yeah. And I think that's like a piece of it. And maybe I feel differently because like
you're right.
I don't know. So
yeah.
I like it. Watching these movies, I think, also changed my idea of telling the story of Superman a little bit. Yeah. Because I've only ever seen the new reboots, like the most recent reboots and the one from like 2008 or whatever.
That is actually a sequel to these movies.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. Technically, it's in the same universe.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. So I've seen that one. Saw
Unfortunate
in
that it's so
theaters.
boring.
Yeah, I saw that in theaters. Anyway, I appreciated the storytelling. I'm sure we'll get into that in a second. But that's my relationship to Superman now. I'm not a fanboy, but I think there's like little bits and pieces of it that I think are really moving and cool.
Yeah. So I think you mentioned the fact that he's like not from Earth, like that he is, you know, he's new here essentially, and that's a really big part of Superman. I think that's really cool. And I'll go through the general. We'll talk about Superman 1. We'll talk about Superman 2. So I'll go through the general plot real quick, and then we'll talk about Superman 1.
Okay.
I'll explain a few things, and then I have a clip to show you that I think really sums up why I love this character.
Okay.
Or why I think this movie works as well as it does. So basically, Superman 1, the planet of Krypton is doomed. Marlon Brando plays Jor-El, father of Superman,
Which is cool.
and he is condemning the three zealots, Zod, Non, and Ursa, to be sent to the Phantom Zone forever. And that's kind of your beginning of this movie, and that's the only time they show up in this movie. And it's kind of funny because that comes back, and you get to see them in Superman 2. And you in a weird way, you know the plot because there's this weird montage of the first movie at the beginning of the Donner cut. I don't remember if that's at the beginning of the original cut, but
it
it's
was a little
there.
strange, but also kind of cool.
Not knowing, I was literally thinking watching that today, if you didn't see the first one, I wonder what
That was
this
just
would
my
feel
experience.
like.
Yeah. I was like, it took like probably 30 seconds before I was like, oh, these are like flashbacks, fill in the blank, last episode on The Mandalorian type situation.
Exactly.
And so once that happened, I was like accepting the fact that I didn't understand all the plot.
Yeah, which in
And-
itself is kind of fun because they like the first movie opens with it's black and white and there's curtains and the curtains open and it's the first issue. It's Action Comics #1 and it's a child reading out the
cool.
first few panels.
Oh, cool.
And these movies kind of adopt the idea of the serialized comic book from back in the day when they were built out in newspaper and they were on newsstands. You get them for a dime, which adjusted for inflation. Maybe that's also $3, which is what they are today. But who knows? So they kind of like really take that to heart. So then in the second one, when they do that, I think that's kind of fun. How it's like last time on Flash Gordon, that kind of thing. So Superman 1, the basic plot is he gets sent to Earth. Then after all this stuff happens, Krypton explodes. He gets sent to Earth, lands, and is raised by Martha and Jonathan Kent, who find him as a baby. They raise him as their own, and when he's old enough, they tell him that he's an alien. He's not from Earth. They found him in this spaceship, and we don't know. It's weird. And what do you do with these powers? I don't know. And eventually, Pa Kent dies. And that's the clip I want to show you in a minute here. But Pa Kent dies, and he then goes off and does this walkabout, essentially, and creates the Fortress of Solitude and becomes Superman. So you get like
Which
this
is where
time
we
jump.
pick him up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So he becomes Superman, and then he goes, and that's when the whole conflict with Lex Luthor pops up.
Right.
So Luthor is gonna like get this big scheme where he's gonna cause the San Andreas fault to, earthquake the entire world, and then he has a nuclear bomb that's going off, and Superman can only save one, and it's for the greatest criminal mind of the world. Apparently, it's a pretty nothing scheme. It's real estate, which doesn't really vibe with the kind of stuff that Lex Luthor does in the comics. Like he is an ultra genius. In this, he's more of like kind of like a Donald Trump type. He's kind of like he's very smart though.
He's like a Jeff Bezos, Tesla type.
Yeah,
like hybrid kind of genius, crazy man.
And this, he's like an evil businessman.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's kind of what that is. And Superman stops him, and that's kind of the movie. And then Superman 2 picks up, and that's what that is. So Superman 1. My favorite parts of this movie are the whole beginning part of him growing up. I think that it's really interesting seeing all of the stuff that builds into him and builds into who he becomes and why he is the way he is and who he becomes. And there's, this is something that Superman comes back to a lot in the comics and that they talk about in this documentary is the fact that you talk about him being from another planet, of not being from here. of being an alien, the word that I would use is that he's an immigrant. And it's an interesting thing where while he can be a lot of things to a lot of people because he grew up as just a regular Midwestern guy, not knowing that there was anything different about him until he started getting these powers. And he just has these very like nice Midwestern values because of that. But at the same time, he has the immigrant experience once he finds all this stuff about himself of where am I from? Like, who is my family? Like, who is my father and all this kind of stuff. And that's so interesting to me because then you go even further back. And Superman was created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, these two, Jewish teenagers who were getting bullied all the time at school. One of them liked to write, the other liked to draw.
Wow.
And they built this guy just because they, had a passion for comic books. And in the Depression era, they wanted to build this big, strong guy who could do anything. And especially in a time when, Jews, even in America, were still looked down upon. And they could just build this big, strong dude that was their outlet. And it's so interesting to me and so cool to me that was like the way that they went with that. And that then, every publisher ever was like, we don't want this. Like nobody wanted Superman.
Really?
And then they eventually got to, I think it was called National Comics, but then eventually renamed Detective Comics after their number one selling book and then shortened to just DC. So then Superman debuted in Action Comics #1, and that's what that was. And yeah, he's just really cool, and I like him a lot. And I'm going to show you this scene real quick.
Okay. Yeah.
This is the death of Pa Kent.
Are you going to put the audio into the pod?
No, they'll know it.
Okay.
Because they watched the movie.
Yeah, everybody watched the movie. You hear that?
Yes.
Watch the movie.
So, context. Basically, he's a teenager, and he wants to hang out with people, but they're just bullying him. And he comes back, and he's like, well, I want to, freaking play football and stuff, but I can't because of my powers.
Yeah.
And this is Pa Kent's little monologue doing.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
and I'll cut around that to some degree, but I love that scene. And because of what he says at the end there, you get that whole speech with from Pa Kent about I know you're here for a purpose. I don't know what it is, but I know that it's not making touchdowns. I know that you're here for something larger. And which is interesting because a lot of people think of Superman as like a Christ figure, and I think Zack Snyder clearly misunderstands him as that, but he's actually Moses.
Yeah, I was about to say, basket type situation.
Yeah, exactly. It's this whole thing of he's
also Moses is a Christ figure too. So
yeah, but especially for these two Jewish kids, they're not making an idol out of Jesus.
Yes.
They're making this Moses. So he is, from another world, sent in a basket, adopted by these people as one of their own, and then goes on to be a great leader of men.
Right.
So that's his whole thing. But then you get that moment of him figuring out, understanding, even though I have all these powers, even though I can do all these amazing things, which there's a montage right before that of him showing off and being crazy and fun and a teenager with superpowers. Even though he can do all that, he can't save everyone as much as he would like to, not even his own father.
Right.
And it's tragic. And then that goes to one of the only things that I dislike about these two movies is the turning back of time by going around the earth. Not a thing that Superman can do, not a thing that makes any sense. But in this, he can, and it does. And it frustrates me because what happens at the end of this one is that Luthor has done his plan and Superman's stopping all of the bombs or whatever. But Lois falls into one of these fault lines in her car and gets buried alive, and she dies. And Superman is so distraught that he goes and flies around the planet and turns the planet backwards and reverses time, and everything is fixed, and the Hoover Dam is fixed again, and the fault lines are fixed, and he's holding up the fault lines, and Golden Age Superman's crazy powerful stuff. And that frustrates me because it negates this super important moment where he finds this fundamental understanding of I can't save everyone, but I'm damn well going to do the best that I possibly can to.
Right.
And in that moment, then he's like, well, actually, I'm just going to turn the Earth backwards and time travel back and everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, cheat code.
I guess I could have brought my father back to life if I really wanted to.
Right.
But I didn't.
Right.
And I don't know. That kind of bothers me. And then it's the same ending in Superman 2, which is kind of weird. But there's also a reason for that. I love this movie. I love the music. John Williams is incredible. I think this is his best score. I love this more than Star Wars by far. Yeah, Christopher Reeve is, incomparable. Margot Kidder is fine as Lois Lane. I don't totally understand her casting, but I think she does an okay job. I don't know. What else can I say about
the
Superman
Luthor
1?
and what's her butts relationship is really fun.
Yeah.
Which I just caught onto that because I had seen, what's the name of the remake from the 2000s? Superman
Returns.
Yeah. Which they kind of tried to do that again.
Didn't quite
and
work.
it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And in this, that relationship is really fun to watch.
That's because Kevin Spacey is actually gross and weird and bad.
Yeah.
As opposed to Gene Hackman, who's just a really good actor.
Yes. Yeah. Fantastic. He was all of those little line deliveries are all fun and made me laugh out loud multiple times.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Every single Miss Tessmacher is
fantastic. I think it did a really good job that not that new Superman movies take themselves too seriously, but maybe a little bit. I think there is. I think if they, it sucks that they try to take themselves seriously, and then I don't think they do a great job at it. Versus this one has those deep moments we just saw, but then a bunch of the other stuff is just silly, really, really silly stuff.
But it's fun.
It's fun, silly. Yeah, it's an old. I don't know. It's like a superhero movie. I don't know. It's it doesn't try to take itself more seriously than it is. Specifically in Superman 2. There's the part where Lois thinks that she's figured out who Clark Kent is, and I've discovered you are Superman. And he's like, oh, you're wrong. And she's like, oh yeah, well, would Superman let me jump out of this window and kill myself? And she jumps out of a window, and it's so silly. She just doesn't. You're like, what? And then Superman sprints down, or Clark Kent sprints down to the bottom of the building and blows air up at her to keep her in the slow her descent, and she falls and bounces into a fruit stand. And anyway, it's just
it's so
many silly fun moments like that that I think, I don't know, it was really fun to watch. And I think there was something that the latest Superman movies just haven't really done it for me.
They're trying too hard. Zack Snyder confounds me because he's a man that everyone says is so incredible and so nice and so kind, and he loves these characters, and he has such a deep understanding of these characters. I would argue that he doesn't understand these characters at all. And maybe I'm crazy, and Zack Snyder's a genius. I don't know. But then I would reference the death of Paul Kent. In Man of Steel, Kevin Costner plays Paul Kent. He plays Jonathan Kent.
Yep.
And it's a weird thing where he's saying a similar but completely opposite message to Clark in a very similar scene, where in this movie, what he's saying is, listen, son, you've got these powers. I don't know why or what your purpose is, but someday you're going to show the world, and you're going to do something very big and important. And then he dies of natural causes, showing, well, he couldn't have done anything.
Right.
This is, where he finds his conviction. This is his moment where things turn for Clark.
Right.
In Man of Steel, Kevin Costner is
accident?
Sort of. Kevin Costner is always telling him, son, you have to hide your powers because people will be scared of you and the government will take you, and it's too dangerous. And it's what is why is this guy the guy that you continue to idolize after his death? And then he's the guy that you hallucinate on the mountain for some reason in Batman vs Superman. Doesn't make sense. But then what happens to him is there's a tornado.
Oh, that's what it was.
And the dog is stuck in the car. And they're like, everyone, get under the underpass. So they go to the underpass, and Clark is like, oh no, the dog. I'll get the dog. And Kevin Costner, Paul Kent, says, no, son, I will get the dog. Me, regular man.
Yeah.
And he goes to get the dog, and he gets the dog out, and it's fine. But, well, I got my foot stuck on the car or something.
Yeah.
I can't get out. And Clark is like, I can run over there probably at a regular speed and come and help you. because you're not that far away.
Yeah.
And Kevin
No one
Costner,
has to
Superman,
really know.
Paul Kent just holds out his hand and goes, shakes his head like, no, Clark, don't reveal yourself to the world. The government will come and steal you away.
Right.
And there will be political intrigue because I'm edgy. And it's ridiculous because he doesn't even have to use his superpowers. He could walk over there before the tornado consumes his father and save him.
Yeah.
There's no reason that he couldn't save him.
It's like everything within his power. Like what you said with having the heart attack, there's nothing he could have done.
Yeah, and they even set that up earlier in the movie. They mention, you better be careful about what, you know what Dr. What's-his-name said about your heart. Like, it bothers me. That's what I have to say about Man of Steel. I think it does some interesting things, and I like Henry Cavill a lot. And I wish that he was as charming as Superman as he is in real life, because he is the most delightful person to listen to. And he himself, is just the most genial, guy. And that's Superman. So just let him do that.
Yeah.
And don't make him be sad boy Superman. I don't know. I'm also tired of everything just being, evil Superman, because that's more interesting.
Sad boy, and also just kind of cold. Not a lot of emotions. Yeah.
It's dumb. Superman 2, the Donner Cut. Let's move on. Do you have any final thoughts about the one that you liked even more, the Superman 1?
No, I think it was fantastic. When are we going to talk about Reeves as a person? Or sorry, Christopher Reeve.
Let's talk about the Donner Cut, and then we'll do that.
Okay, sounds good.
So Superman 2 Donner Cut. This is a special second version of this movie. The original released, I believe, in 1980. This one in 2006. For reasons that we'll get into in IMDb trivia, Richard Donner was replaced as director about 75% through shooting. I don't remember who replaced him, but it happened, and the movie that came out in 1980 is quite a bit different from the one that we watched. The one that we watched is pretty much thought of as the actual sequel, the better sequel by far. So basically, this is the story. Zod, Ursa, and Non, the Kryptonians from the first one, escape from the Phantom Zone because one of the nukes blows up from the first movie and lets them break out, and then they try to take over the Earth, and Superman has to stop them. That's pretty much it. But during this, Lois has figured out that he is Superman, and there's this conflict of, what do I do? I want to be with Lois Lane, but I have this responsibility to the world. So that's what that is. What do you think of this movie?
I think I kind of accidentally bled into it talking about the last one. I think similar. It was fun and I think just as enjoyable. I think oftentimes maybe it's just because I'm weird. I find myself enjoying old movies just as much as new movies, even with slower action. The effects and stuff they're not as bad as they could be.
Not at all, no.
There's some actually pretty fun things happening. There's a pretty convincing moon scene, I felt where all of a sudden I was oh, this is I don't actually know how they're doing this. How are they filming this? But where What's Their Butts' show up, the evil Kryptonite people, Krypton people. What are their
Kryptonians?
Names? Kryptonians. That would be the name of
Zod.
People are from Krypton. Who also didn't realize he is in what? I didn't realize that Zod was a character from this movie, Superman 2, and also in whatever it's called.
He's in Man of Steel, played by Michael Shannon.
Yep.
He's very good in that role. I'll give him that.
Yeah. I don't think the plot got handled the right way in Man of Steel, but the final 20 minutes were just not good. Anyway, it was fun to see them doing Kryptonian things. I don't know. The effects were a little goofy, but also really fun at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was a good movie. I liked it. It was awesome. I think it made me feel more deep things about Superman than I've ever felt before. So what do you think?
I think it's more fun for me than Superman 1.
Okay.
I like Superman 1 a lot, but I think this one makes more sense to me just because Luthor in this universe isn't the big giant intellect that he is in the comics. So then the first one,
you need a smarter bad guy.
yeah.
Almost?
So the first one is less convincing because as a villain, I don't find Lex in these as compelling, as opposed to Zod, who is a physical match, maybe not a mental match, clearly, but a physical match for Superman. And then you get Ursa and Non being, the big brute kind of guy. They're also in Man of Steel. Man of Steel is cast very well. I'll give it that. I think I have a lot of fun with this movie, and it's like what you were saying earlier about how it has the fun moments, but it also has the serious stuff. And I feel like these movies really, really prosper from the fact that they have both, and they do them both very well.
Right.
Because without the fun stuff, the serious stuff is just what it is. But the serious stuff is so much better for the fact that it isn't just constant. We're being cool and edgy and dark, and everyone's gonna love it. And I'm 10 years old, and I like to put chains and pouches and guns on everything. That's
What 10-year-old does that?
Todd McFarlane and Zack Snyder.
Oh, okay.
I think it's more fun. I love their curiosity as they go across the planet.
Yes,
and they're this is the planet Houston.
Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah, it's so good.
Houston, yeah, that is fun.
Yeah, you get the classic movie trope of drunken man sees something that he thinks he's hallucinating, throws the drink away.
Yes,
classic.
What? Oh gosh, I'm trying to think what other fun moments was there discovering things on Earth.
Ursa lasers a snake after it bites her, and then she's like, "Did you guys see that? I just did some crazy stuff there."
There's also for whatever reason when Zod shows up, they fly down, right? That first scene where they first show up, there's a fisherman fishing, and he lands in the lake that fisherman is in, and then starts walking on water. Yeah. And fisherman's like, huh? Yeah. What is going on here? He has water walking powers. Which is cool.
He also can levitate things. Did you notice that? Because there's a point when they're standing in the road with the sheriff and the deputy walks out and he's pointing the gun at him, and he heat visions it, and then he
teleports, pulls it to him.
Yeah,
force pulls
he
it.
uses the force. Yeah, which is not a thing Superman can do. Which is a thing this movie does a lot. These movies do a lot.
A little liberty with some of that.
I'll excuse it.
The Clark Kent / Superman / what's his birth name again? Kal-El. And Lois Lane, love interest in this one is...
I think it's a lot better than it is the first one.
Yeah, it definitely is a more central plot line, which is fun if you're into that. I don't know.
The performance as Clark Kent is one of my favorite things in all of cinema. He's so good.
Yeah.
There's a moment in Superman 1 where it's just after the whole flying sequence with Lois, and they do their interview, my night with Superman, and that whole thing, and you saw it, and and then Clark shows up afterwards because he's gonna take her out to dinner or whatever,
right?
And she's in a daze, and he's like, what, screw it, I'm gonna tell her that I'm Superman. So she's in the other room. And he goes from being all hunched over with the glasses and everything, and he takes the glasses off and just straightens himself. And he changes his voice.
You see the character change, yeah.
And it's incredible. Because you're like, whoa, that's a different man. And he's like, Lois, there's something I have to tell you. Yeah. And then she comes back in the room, and he gets all meek and mild again, and he gets all small and puts the glasses back on, and it's like, I was just saying, I was thinking I might be nervous about tonight, and then I just thought, well, what the heck, I'll just show her the time of her life, so let's go. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
There's all this discourse about hey, she must be the worst reporter in the world, she can't tell he just has glasses on. But that scene, that proves it completely wrong.
Yeah.
It's, oh my gosh, it's so good. And you get that in this one too.
Yep.
For that moment when she shoots him, quote unquote.
Right.
Because it's just,
with the blank
nervous
gun.
Clark and everything. And then she shoots, and it's some of my favorite acting I've ever seen too. Because it's just this frustration of oh, come on, Lois. Geez. But he just snaps up and stands up in that instant.
Yes.
And it's oh, there's Superman.
Yeah.
And I love the idea that he just he knows that he wouldn't feel it. So
Yes.
he just assumes
Yes.
that she shot the gun at him.
Yeah.
It's so funny to me. That's great. Oh man, what else did I write about this movie? This does the Wonder Woman 84 I don't have powers thing way better than Wonder Woman 84 does.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just doesn't fit the movie in Wonder Woman 84. Like it doesn't fit the climax. It doesn't fit the rising action.
Right.
Because then when you get to the climax and everything, she just has her powers again, and there's no emotional conflict there at all.
Right.
It just, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But in this, it works really well.
You feel it more. You're what? It's just more
I don't know.
believable,
I just
or
think
you
it
actually
makes
feel
more
some sort of
sense
tension.
because he's like actively like he chose to give up his powers.
Right.
This is my specific thing that I am doing. It's not, oh no, I'm losing my powers because I wish for my boyfriend to come back to life in this other man's body.
Right. Yes. It feels like in Wonder Woman, it feels like a writer in the writer's room was like, "Oh, we need conflict. What's the conflict here?"
What if she doesn't have superpowers
Yeah.
and she's sad?
Yeah.
What about that?
Perfect.
Okay, we
Write
did it.
down. Yeah.
Drop a bunch of ink on a paper, and that's what our script is.
Yeah.
Ugh. There's a big focus on Superman saving people from danger in the final like scene in both of these movies. That's a huge thing. There's whole scenes of it.
Yeah.
During these big battles, he's going and saving people from stuff. Huge difference from Man of Steel, where they're just like completely demolishing the city of Metropolis.
Yeah.
I love that. I love seeing that.
Well, it's just because they didn't have the same CGI. Technology,
of course.
Marshall. Yeah.
Did you not see them destroy the Washington Monument?
Yeah.
That was so high tech.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. So ridiculous. The only thing I don't like about
Who
these
plays
movies,
the president in this movie?
something Marshall. That's the only reason I remember is because it was my name.
That's cool.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about these movies is the poem thing in Superman 1. There's like a spoken word poem that happens in the first one that's a little weird.
Oh, cool.
And then the turning back time, which
just
is what
don't like
happens
art.
in both of these movies.
Right.
Which just
For what you've
feels,
already shared, it just feels like it's
yeah, it feels cheap.
yeah.
And then I like it better than the original ending for this movie, which was he takes away her memory by kissing her,
Right.
which is weird.
Because he has that power that he discovers in the moment.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other. It's like it's another. He can do this
Maybe
now.
there was a crystal that taught him.
That's true.
You'll have this power probably. Try kissing someone,
Kiss anyone, and
and they'll
forget about
the
it.
last 48 hours.
You can,
Ooh, God.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. Well, and then you get to Superman Returns, and she's pregnant or has been pregnant and had a child, and you're like, that must be James Marsden's character's child, and then the child literally throws a piano across the room, and you're like, oh, that's Superman's
I
child.
didn't understand that as a kid watching that in the movie theater.
Yeah. So then
okay.
Lois Lane at some point in this universe must have had the thought of, did I have sex with Superman
Yeah.
and I didn't know? Like, when did this happen? Like, does my husband James Marsden have superpower? Is he Superman?
Yeah. Immaculate conception.
Yeah. Which, you know what I'm talking about?
No.
No, I don't know. The modern
I don't.
the just the modern portrayals of Superman lean much towards the savior
the Jesus-y
elements
side of things.
as opposed to what he actually is.
Gross. I hate that.
Yeah, it's
Don't
really
cheapen
weird.
it.
There's literally a shot in Man of Steel where he like floats out of a spaceship into space, and he's like, I'm making a cross shape.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there's another one where he's having emotional conflict, and behind him is a stained glass wall of Jesus.
Oh, really?
And it's like, wow,
Yeah.
that's some subtle
Again,
imagery.
Things that I don't pick up. The things I pick up on when I have smart people in my life who know more about.
Oh, if you watched it again,
characters.
you'd be like,
Yeah.
that's
I
really
watched
overt.
it once in high school, and
I
called
watched it in
good.
IMAX when it came out, and I
Yeah.
have no memory of it.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and then I only remember it from watching it since then. Yeah.
Interesting.
I guess that's what I have to say.
We should see more things in IMAX when that happens again.
Is there an IMAX theater in Lincoln, or do we have to go to
No,
Omaha?
Omaha or Hastings.
That's work.
We'll start one. We'll start an IMAX theater.
We'll start an IMAX theater.
That'd be awesome.
So, those are those movies. I love these movies a lot. I think that they are a really good representation of just like the kindness of Superman. I think part of why I really love Superman is because I just kind of identify with him a lot. Just because he, at his core, is like a Midwestern guy trying to do his best.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I like to think that I'm trying to do my best, and I like to think that I'm a nice guy, that I'm a good guy. And I don't know. I look to Superman and I say, like, this is, the kind of person that I strive to be, that I want to be. There's a great moment. One of the great moments in Man of Steel is at the end of the movie. All the actions happen. It's, I think, the final scene. And there's like the military convoy and General Swanwick, who we now know is Martian Manhunter. What? Look at, there he is. He's a little figure up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently.
I didn't know that.
We'll get to see that in the Snyder Cut.
Oh, cool.
He like drops a drone in front of him, and he's like, you're not gonna find my secret hideout. And he's like, how do we trust you? Well, you're an alien just like those other guys. And he's like, listen, I grew up in Kansas, dude. Like, I'm as American as any of us.
Right.
And I don't know. There's just something about this weird dichotomy of this guy who like knows that he has some kind of like purpose of something that he's supposed to do, but at the same time he's like raised on these small town Midwestern values, and I don't know, I just find that really compelling. And then you get to a book, like, you can twist that then, and there's a book called Superman Red Sun, where instead of landing in Smallville, Kansas, he lands in Soviet Russia.
Oh,
so
really?
Then he becomes eventually the premier. He becomes the president of Russia, and it's this whole thing. It's pretty interesting. The animated version is on HBO Max. Actually, it's worth watching. It's a pretty good adaptation.
Okay.
Batman is sort of in that. It's not Bruce Wayne, but it's Batman. So yeah, I don't know. I just love Superman for that reason. I find him, especially in confusing, frustrating times like this, he's a very wholesome character to come back to. I don't know. I wish Superman was real, because he'd be someone that I would really greatly respect and look up to. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's something you don't get with other.
I got my Superman figure up there.
Superheroes. Like,
yeah.
You can like be fine imagining other superheroes like in their world and be like, that's good. That's fine enough to imagine or think about, but I don't really want that, or even confronting what they have to do and who they have to fight. But to wish that a superhero existed in real life, because like life would actually be better that way. Or
There's great comic books about that. I got them right there. Death of Superman in a world without Superman. What happens?
Whoa.
What happens without Superman?
You
what
have
are
the
gonna
Watchmen
do?
comics.
I do.
I should check that out sometime.
You should.
Have you watched the series?
Yeah, it's very good. It's not an adaptation of that. It takes place after that.
Right.
But it's in that universe.
Yeah.
It's kind of confusing.
Anywho. Oh, we are at 8 o'clock here, Marshall.
That's true.
I think I might be ready to be done.
Wow. Wow.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Well,
really
then you're
mean
fired
that.
from the show.
I didn't really mean that, but also I'm getting a little sleepy.
Computer, turn on bright.
Oh, God.
It doesn't. It doesn't want to do it. Computer, stop. I hate it so much. Ever since I installed the second one, it doesn't want to do its job.
Typical computer not wanting to do its job. Watch out.
Stupid.
It's coming for you.
Okay.
Great.
IMDb trivia.
IMDb trivia.
Here we go.
IMBD trivia.
What'd you say to me?
IMBD trivia.
Oh, thank you. Superman 1, IMDb trivia. To obtain the musculature... by the way, Superman 1 and 2, yes or no?
Yeah. Yes. So much better than any of the new Superman movies. I'll say it. So much better.
I would agree. IMDb trivia, Superman 1. To obtain the musculature to convincingly play Superman, Christopher Reeve underwent a bodybuilding regime supervised by David Prowse, the man who played Darth Vader in the original Star Wars trilogy.
That's cool. Yeah. Can we make these true or false questions at some point so you quiz me and I have to tell you if it's a real fact or not real fact?
Yeah, it'd be fun, actually.
Fact or crap?
Yeah. Maybe that's what I've already done.
Whoa! No, that's not real. That was fact. Yep.
This is one of my favorite stories. According to Roger Moore's autobiography, Roger Moore, who played James Bond in many James Bond films, he witnessed Christopher Reeve walking through the canteen at Pinewood Studios in full Superman costume, oblivious to the swooning female admirers he left in his wake. When he did the same thing as dressed as Clark Kent, no one paid any attention.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so that's another one of perfect. Like, there you go.
Yeah,
like,
literally.
These people don't know.
Yeah.
That's great. Marlon Brando was paid $3.7 million plus a percentage of the gross for 12 days of shooting. The payment also covered the sequel, which was shot at the same time. Brando did not appear in the sequel because he'd sued Isla Salkind, claiming Salkind did not pay him his percentage of the profits. He ultimately received about $14 million for 10 minutes of screen time. The footage shot for the sequel was used in Superman Returns. It was also, used in this one. In the original Superman 2, he's not in it at all. It's his mother is the one that appears in the Fortress of Solitude then. To achieve the shot of young Clark kicking a football into orbit, an air cannon was placed underground and the football was fired from it. Wow. I love this. This is really wholesome and I love this. Superman creators Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster were both delighted with the results of the movie.
Oh, that is good to hear.
Yeah, because they must have been old men because they were like, maybe they were a little younger than me in 1938 when the character first came out. This is 1978?
40 years afterwards. So they were probably in their 50s or 60s.
Oh, that's so weird to think about. I always think of them being so much older just because, it's 2021.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like watching videos from the 80s of Bob Kane, the man who co-created Batman. It's like, you're alive?
You're alive.
To achieve, I already read that one. Marlon Brando refused to memorize most of his lines in advance, something he would do often. In the scene where he puts infant Kal-El into the escape pod, he was actually reading his lines from the diaper of the baby. He told director Richard Donner that the only way to keep his performance fresh was that, and not over-rehearsed. Oh, yeah. And the only way to keep it fresh and not over-rehearsed was to record the first time he read the lines.
Wow.
Yeah. So Superman 2. Richard Donner had effectively shot 75% of Superman 2 in 1980 when he was fired by the Salkinds. Richard Donner had been approached about a possible director's cut of the film as early as 2001. However, complex legal issues involving the cut footage, as well as reluctance on the part of Donner, prevented any official restoration from taking place. All of this changed with the production of Superman Returns in 2006, which led to Warner Brothers resolving all outstanding legal disputes regarding footage from the first two Superman films. By that time, public demand led Warner Brothers to commission a Donner cut edited by Michael Tao. Based on the original shooting script, this is a long one, without Donner's participation. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I didn't remember that. After repeated urging by Tao, Donner eventually agreed to approve of the scenes as Tao progressed in editing. Over time, the more Donner allowed himself to participate in the project, the more interest he took in restoring his original concept from the film, even going so far as to bring screenwriter Tom Mankiewicz to full... Wait, is that the guy who wrote Citizen Kane?
I don't know.
No, that couldn't be.
Citizen Kane author...
to ensure story cohesion. The result is the closest film possible to Donner.
Oh, no, Herman Mankiewicz.
Oh, yeah, obviously. I'm an idiot. I knew that.
Yeah, you're dumb.
It's like he would be ancient by then. Blah, blah, blah. This is the closest film possible to Donner and Mankiewicz's original film for the film. The green crystal Clark picks up from the Fortress of Solitude is a prop from Superman Returns in 2006. A shot of Michael Tao's hands was used for Clark picking up the green crystal.
Really?
Yeah,
How
I
fun.
imagine they had to get a few pickup shots, and I was kind of like watching for it.
How funny. How did they film it to make it look
I don't know.
similar to...
Put a lot of garbage on top of it.
I
don't know.
guess so. Huh.
The ending scene in which Superman reverses time was the original intended ending for this movie. But during production of Superman 1978, it was decided to use the ending for the first film instead. Richard Donner and Tom Mankiewicz planned to eventually create a new ending, but Donner was fired during production. When restoring this version, Donner was going to use this theatrical version's ending so that it would not have the same ending as the first film, but Mankiewicz never liked the changed ending in which Clark kissed Lois. So the original intended ending was used. I don't like that it's the same ending to both movies technically,
Right.
but I vastly prefer this to the weird kiss thing.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that.
Pretty nice.
You're popping.
Yeah, I am. That's IMDb trivia, and that's Superman. Ben,
Wow.
what you watching? What you getting into? What you looking at, listening to, consuming, reading, touching?
Wow. I am continuing to get closer to finishing The Return of the King. Very slow progress. Like I said, I've been working on trying to get.
Are you reading it?
After school? Yeah. I've been reading it for some time. Yes. For a very long time, many years. I started The Hobbit like probably 4 years ago. I probably get through like one.
Started The Hobbit 4 years ago?
Yeah, like one book a year, maybe less than that. It's been not great.
Yeah.
But being busy and I don't know. Honestly, I kind of cheated. The most I've read The Lord of the Rings was when I was actually listening to it on audiobook. The audiobook version of The Lord of the Rings is so good.
Yeah.
It's read by who? Inglis? What's his name? Robert Inglis. If you get the unabridged version, like the original.
Why do I know that name?
From, I don't know. He reads The Lord of the Rings. I think Robert's his first name.
It sounds right.
The Rings unabridged audiobook. Oh, it's Rob. Rob Inglis. He's fantastic. 10 out of 10 would recommend listening to it. But I listened to a lot of it while I was on construction sites this last summer, so kind of cheated a bit. I stopped myself from listening to all of The Return of the King because I wanted to read and finish the final bit out of the book. So I'm excited I did that, and I have some friends who are finally like I just finished reading it as well, so I want to be able to talk to them about it. So anyway, Return of the King, that might be it. A bunch of stuff for social studies things. So that's kind of been honestly most of my life, like the past year. I'm trying to think if there's anything else interesting I've watched or listened to. I started I wanted to try a month of Audible just to see what it was like.
Sure.
So there's some free Audible stuff, and Stephen Fry reads a bunch of audiobooks, and he's fantastic. The jewel of England. But he has read all of the Sherlock Holmes shorts, and I read all of them in 7th grade, so it's been a while.
A few years ago.
I felt very cool when I did it. I felt very advanced as a reader reading Sherlock Holmes from the early 1900s, but anyway, so going back and listening to him read them has been pretty fun too. So I've been listening to that. I've been biking more. I've been trying to bike cold weather bike. So I listen to the Sherlock Holmes and bike around. So
That'll make me nervous, man.
Yeah.
With the ice and stuff.
On the bike trail, I have a mountain bike. I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't have a bike actually right now. Whoops. I got a gym membership.
Oh, great. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm going to Good Life now.
Really?
Yeah, well, Bringing gets a discount.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm paying like $38
Congrats.
a month.
They're kind of a serious place.
Yeah, it's nice. So I'm paying $38 with the discount for, the gym and unlimited access to all classes except for boot camp, I think.
Nice.
Which, I'm probably not going to do with my arm anyway.
Yeah. Congrats. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm going to start doing that. I might start that tomorrow.
Oh, hey, Marshall and I are both in a weight loss challenge right now with some people. So
it's because Ben's so fat.
I'm so fat,
like
dude.
500 pounds.
It's actually absurd. I should stop sitting in this chair soon,
dude,
or else it's gonna break.
Quit it. I almost broke that chair a couple times, so it's fine.
Interesting.
It's a nice chair.
Anywho, we're trying to lose weight. Yeah. So, yep.
I'm working on it. I lost 30 pounds before I broke the arm, and then I broke the arm. So I was just like sitting around not doing anything, and kind of lost all motivation to track my food for those first few weeks because my mom was cooking for me because I had to move back into my parents' house because I literally couldn't do anything for myself.
Yeah.
And I was in extreme pain all the time. So it was a lot more frustrating and confusing to try to track my food. So I kind of just stopped, and that's when it really fell off the wagon. But I'm getting back into it now. I'm trying to keep on track with it. I ate some pizza today that I shouldn't have had. So tomorrow is going to be a lighter day because I'm starting to get hungry. So I'm going to have to eat something, even though I have like 50 calories left.
50 calorie snack.
That doesn't exist.
Yeah, you're right.
Not for me, it doesn't. I'm a big hungry boy. So that's the problem. But yeah, I'm working on that. I want to do that. I bought a Superboy t-shirt. It's like the black shirt with the red Superman logo. That is like my motivation. It's one size too small.
Nice.
So that's what I'm going to do.
Heck yeah.
You'd think for the price that it would have been a higher quality shirt. It is not.
Isn't that how it always is?
Unfortunate. What am I watching, Ben? Glad you asked.
Yeah,
I watched the movie The American President, which is directed by Rob Reiner and written by Aaron Sorkin.
Cool.
It's basically the West Wing light.
Cool.
I imagine that this is to the West Wing what the MASH movie is to the TV show MASH. It's very similar in all the characterizations and all that and the writing because it's Aaron Sorkin. But it's just different enough that it's like, okay, it's a fine movie. Mm-hmm. I didn't mind it. It's wholesome. I watched The Invisible Man, which came out this year. Horror movie came out this year with Elizabeth Moss. Super good. It's on HBO. You should watch it. I watched it before bed.
What's it called?
It was a mistake. The Invisible Man.
Oh, yeah. Duh. Sorry.
Yeah. So it was like this is part of Universal's attempt to use their monster movie licenses, but they did something very unique in this, in that it's not just an adaptation of that old movie, where it's, this scientist has turned himself invisible and he's covered himself with bandages, because then he can be seen and you'll only be kind of confused because it's a bandaged man and not an invisible man.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. They did something much more interesting with it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I'll have to add to the list. I've been in the mood for something scary, so.
It's very good. Super intense.
Cool.
Big, strong guy in it, too. Real handsome. You'll like him.
What's his name?
I don't remember the actor's name.
Oh, okay.
I think the character's name is James.
He's kind of cute, though.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. Got big muscles. He's like 20 feet tall.
That's dope.
Yeah. So that's been the show. That's Superman. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for listening to me kind of gush about my favorite movies. I really, really love these movies. These two collectively are easily in my top 5 as an individual.
Wow.
With Lord of the Rings trilogy as an individual as well.
Okay.
Man, I love it.
Fascinating.
I think they're great. I think Superman's great. If you haven't watched them, watch them, or else you're an idiot.
Duh.
Okay,
well, you know where to find us.
You know where to find us. I'm at Imperish Art on Instagram, The Great Scub Do on Twitch and YouTube. I keep saying we're going to do that at some point. Maybe we will.
Yeah.
Ben and Marshall do a podcast. Ben and Marshall do a podcast on Instagram.
Yeah.
And benandmarshallpod@gmail.com if you want to email the show. There's all the ways you can contact us. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us what you think of Superman. What do you think of Superman?
Who do you think is Superman?
What do you think is the best Superman movie?
Yeah, let us know.
Because there's some disparate thought on this.
Drop a comment. Drop a DM.
Do you like Batman versus Superman? Do you not like it?
Yeah.
Do you like Justice League? Do you like the musical TV film that they produced a long time ago? There was an adaptation of the Broadway musical that only ran for like 100-something shows.
Not seen any of that.
And then got canceled because it wasn't very good, and Superman musical doesn't make sense. Do you like that episode of I Love Lucy where Superman, played by George Reeves, shows up, but it's George Reeves, the actor, playing Superman in the show because he played Superman in the Superman TV show, so they hired the man George Reeves, Ricky did, to play Superman at little Ricky's birthday party.
Oh.
Do you like that one?
They must.
I do. It's a good one.
DM us.
DM us what you think of that episode.
Drop a comment on the.
And we'd love if you could leave a review.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Do that. That's important.
So yeah, thanks for listening to the show.
Yeah, this has been a good part of this has been the best part of your week probably. So
yeah.
Yep. Hey, love you. Love
everybody.
You, Marshall. It's been so fun to be with you in person.
Wow, I have plans.
You have plans?
I'll tell you about them.
Okay.
Basically, whenever other Ben moves out, I'm gonna move my bed out of here, and then his bedroom is gonna be my bedroom, and this is gonna be a solely office space. And then I'm gonna try to build some kind of modular like table or something or counter against that wall, and then we will have a like little studio that we can actually have like a visual element to the show.
Dope.
And have it be like a show.
Let's go.
Yeah. So
have fun. Okay.
We'll see how that works.
Cool.
But that's been the show. I've been Marshall.
I've marshalled Ben. Bye. Miss you.